For more than a century, Alaska Child and Family has been caring for youth in need and boasts a history as rich and diverse as its patrons. Originally founded in 1890 in Unalaska as the Jesse Lee Home, named after a prominent East Coast minister, the Methodist Mission's goal was to provide room, board, and instruction for homeless Alaska Native children in the area. On September 16th, the first girls came to stay and live at the home.
Most people think Jesse Lee Home was an orphanage, but really it wasn't. It was a home for homeless children. For whatever reason, they could not live in their own homes.
The task of making sure every child had all the necessities of home was not easy in the remote Aleutians.
And they were actually out picking, because they grew their own vegetables, you know. And they went berry picking and they went fishing to supply food on the table.
In 1919, the Spanish influenza took a heavy toll on coastal villages, causing overcrowding. In the quest for more space and better accessibility, the Jesse Lee Home moved to Seward, Alaska.
It was September 24, 1925, that the boys left under the supervision of Mrs. Ethel Steele Robbins on the old ship Bear, a Coast Guard cutter. There were 25 boys, so we know she had her hands full. The 35 girls and the rest of us were all on board the Haida at 11 o'clock Saturday morning, September 26th, steaming out of Iluliak Bay. Before many hours, we lost sight of dear Unalaska, out past Priest Rock into the rough Bering waters. Ordinarily, that trip would have taken a whole week, but we made it in 3 days. Matron Isabel Knapp.
Now the mission could better serve the greater Alaskan community.
Our children came from not only South Central Alaska, but Central Alaska, the Aleutians, and the Nome area, Wales, Kotzebue, you know.
The home held strong in the midst of changing times. During World War II, Jesse Lee was evacuated and Fort Raymond was established on the property. The buildings were painted in camouflage as protection from possible airstrikes. The shadowed outlines of trees were still visible when Betty Epps arrived from Tennessee in 1952.
Well, I was a house mother at Jesse Lee Home. And when I was in college, I met a man named Curly Martin who ran the student foundation there for the Methodist Church. And they were encouraging young graduates from college to go into the mission field for a brief time and just see how they liked it.
And just like that, at the age of 22, Betty became house mother to 11 boys in what was called the C dormitory. Some of her duties included washing and mending clothes. Special precautions had to be taken because at the time tuberculosis was an epidemic raging in Alaska villages. Despite these challenges, there were plenty of good times too.
If the boys wanted to do something, they would always use the name of the house mother before and say, well, Miss Yokel did it. Oh, she used to do it all the time, yeah.
The children loved to be outside and enjoyed a good adventure.
And then one time they wanted me to show me the wrecked ship down on Resurrection Bay. And again, oh yeah, Miss Yokel takes us there all the time, you know. So I checked with Miss Yokel and we walked down to Resurrection Bay, and the wrecked ship was an old fishing boat turned over on its side that was wrecked now. But they loved crawling around on that, you know, and scavenging for things on the beaches.
On March 27th, 1964, the town of Seward was devastated by an earthquake and resulting tsunami. There was so much destruction that there was a need for Jesse Lee Home to move to Anchorage.
And so in 1966, they moved all the kids up here on this very campus. And we've operated here ever since.
By this time, the needs of the children in the community were changing, and the Jesse Lee Home began the transition into the mental health field.
You know, one of the things that people don't understand is that in the 1970s, we in this country were just developing child protective services. We were just recognizing in the 70s that children might be experiencing trauma in their families.
In the light of new awareness, Jesse Lee merged with the Lutheran Youth Center and the Anchorage Christian Children's Home to form Alaska Children's Services. The organization established a distinct identity in 2013 when it renamed to become Alaska Child and Family.
You know, our goal is to get every child that we work with back home with their families. Sometimes that means it will be with perhaps a grandparent, or it might be with an aunt or an uncle, but our goal is to get kids back to their own families, and we're pretty successful at that.
Modern-day Alaska Child and Family is not an orphanage. It has since transitioned into the mental health field and provides residential treatment programs designed for an extended stay on campus or treatment foster care within a family setting at home.
It's very individualized, and it also includes the child and the family in the development of that treatment plan.
Part of that plan involves treating the whole child. This entails working with mental, emotional, and physical health, as well as getting out into the community. In some cases, the community comes to the kids. Here, program participants accept the challenge of a broomball game against the Alaska Aces.
It's pretty neat to see the impact you can have on some of these kids, and we were saying how we want to come back again for every broomball game and play. I know some guys haven't played it before, so we had a lot of fun, and maybe we'll be back and play again.
Another important aspect in treating the whole child is the Spiritual Life program.
It is completely voluntary on their part. Every child is offered, and there are some children that participate fully and some children that just participate here and there. It is completely up to them. It's completely up to their families, but we really want to pay attention to the spiritual side of our lives as well.
On September 16, 2015, Alaska Child and Family celebrates its quadricentennial. Since the first day the home opened in Unalaska, a staff member has been taking care of kids every day, continuously, for 125 years. Over the decades, there have been countless success stories, including Benny Benson, designer of the Alaska state flag, Simeon Oliver, pianist and composer, and founder of Alaska Methodist University, P. Gordon Gould.
You know, every one of them has that potential to be that great in their lives. And we see it all the time. You know, the kids that just graduate, you know, from us, you know, go on and graduate from high school. Then they go on and graduate from college. They have families, you know. They might not found universities, but they do great things. And every one of our kids have that potential, and we see it in all of them.